Hello there everybody, how is it going and how have you been? I am EuclideanSqd, and it's been a little while since I last recorded Duel Links. To be honest, the last thing that I recorded was the Monster World event, and that was a couple of weeks ago. But to be honest, the only thing really all that interesting that happened between then and now was another round of the Kyber Corporation Cup. I just didn't really feel like recording it, to be honest. But I am definitely recording this new event, because this is a brand new character unlock event, the Ultimate Nightmare, Rise of Yubel. And I am loving this event already because hopefully you can hear it pretty well, but Konami has gone a step above with the details for this event. The whole overworld music has been changed, specifically for this event. And even cooler is that it's applied to both the GX Duel world and the regular Duel world, so you can't get away from this creepiness. But anyway, this event does work a lot like the other character unlock events did, like Yami Merrick or Jesse Anderson or any of those. Basically, you participate in duels, you get your tokens, in this case they're called Shattered Hearts. You spend said tokens at the gate to duel the event character, Yubel, and repeat cycle until you unlock a character, collect as many prizes as you can, and so on. There you go. Now, Yubel themselves do have a little bit of a weird deck. So I'm going to go ahead and show off the deck that I'm going to be using as one example of a way to farm them. As usual, feel free to browse the internet and find other ideas. This one in particular was inspired by a deck that I saw somebody by the name of Guns Blazing using. I do believe they have a channel here on YouTube. Just go ahead and search that. This deck is pretty similar to what they were using, but I have changed a few things. But let's go ahead and break this down. So the main strategy, as usual, is to do the whole Vassal Secret Pass Union attack combo at the end of the game. Try and get Vassal above 10,000 attack points, and then attack directly for 10,000 effect damage. So as such, Vassal, Secret Pass, and at least 2 Union attacks are essential. If you only have 1 Union attack, you can still successfully one-shot Yubel, but 2 is basically the only way you're ever going to get above 10,000 attack points. Now, additionally, pretty much every other spell card is required, but you can probably interchange them. I don't know about how interchangeable Photon Lead is. Basically, this is a quick play spell card that lets you special summon 1 level 4 or lower light monster from your hand. And you use this to special summon a mythical beast, Cerberus. This will be the monster that we will be powering up to then give Vassal a power boost. I don't think there's any really good replacement for Photon Lead. Actually, no, there is. If you have Double Summon, that'll work too. Because the idea is that you use Photon Lead to special summon Cerberus, and then you normal summon Vassal, but Double Summon basically does the same thing by just giving you 2 normal summons for the turn. So, there you go. Same deal. Backup Rider is going to be the attack booster. Specifically, Backup Rider will give 1 monster on the field 1,500 extra attack points until the end of the turn. The idea being that you summon a Cerberus, and then you use Backup Rider on Cerberus, because the spell card itself will give Cerberus 1,500, and then because you activate a spell card, Cerberus will create a spell counter on itself, and then it gains 500 attack for every spell counter on it. So effectively, each Backup Rider will give Cerberus 2,000 extra attack points. The 2 Backup Riders I have will crank Cerberus up to 5,400, which is just enough to boost Vassal past 10,000. If you do not have Backup Rider, that is okay. Other attack boosting spell cards will work just fine. I know there is one in the game called Blustering Winds, which basically does the exact same thing Backup Rider does, except it only boosts by 1,000 attack points. However, it is just a rare card as opposed to a super rare card, so it's probably a little bit easier to get your hands on if you're lacking Backup Rider. And then the final spell card is Hey Trunade. Simple spell card, just returns all set spell and traps on the field to the hand. This is a very, very, very important spell card. Probably replaceable. I don't know what you can replace it with, but the reason Trunade is so important is that Yubel has copies of the Ultimate Providence counter trap. And basically what that counter trap does is, by discarding one type of card, Ultimate Providence will negate whatever card is activated. So for example, if I try to activate Secret Pass, Yubel can activate Ultimate Providence, discard a spell card, and then negate Secret Pass's effect. So that counter trap will completely ruin your last turn combo if Yubel happens to have it set. Hey Trunade, however, completely gets around this, because either A, when you activate Hey Trunade, Yubel's AI will activate Ultimate Providence in response and burn it, and then you don't have to worry about it, or B, Yubel doesn't have Ultimate Providence set, and Hey Trunade will blow away the set spell and trap cards on their back row, and you don't have to worry about them at all. Win-win situation. If you do not have copies of Hey Trunade, again, there are probably some spell and trap cards you can use. Off the top of my head, these are ultra rares as opposed to super rares, but something like Cosmic Cyclone or Galaxy Cyclone can help. Again, ideally, if Yubel has Ultimate Providence, they will activate it in response to that spell card. And basically the idea is just having some means of baiting out Ultimate Providence on the last turn so that Yubel can't ruin your farming combo. When it comes to Mythical Beast Cerberus, you don't actually need 3 copies of them. You really only need the 1 to hang on to until the end of the game. I have 3 in here just to kind of help fill out space in the deck. And because, specifically, Cerberus has 1400 defense points, and I will get into why that is so important in just a moment. Now, aside from all of those other cards, the rest of the cards in this deck are fairly interchangeable, so let's go ahead and get to the trap cards. So for the trap cards, I have the Golden Apples and 2 copies of Widespread Ruin. These are very interchangeable, but the idea is basically you just want trap cards that can stop attacks, either by getting rid of the opponent's monster, or, in the case of the Golden Apples, healing back the damage that it just did, and then summoning a token to block that monster from attacking again. The idea being that you basically just don't want Yubel's monsters to attack you. Sounds kind of obvious, but here's the weird quirk. Yubel doesn't actually have that many monsters that can attack. So you don't have to worry about attacks too often, but again, if Yubel does play one of those monsters, it will just sit there and continually poke you to death until you actually die. So having a trap card like Widespread Ruin or the Golden Apples can definitely save you in a situation where you just don't have a monster on the field to eat an attack. Now, when it comes to monsters, this is probably the biggest point at which my deck diverges from what I saw Guns Blazing using. He was using other monsters with 1400 defense points. I have instead decided to add Crystal Seers, specifically to add a little bit of draw power and try and push some of the incredibly numerous last turn cards to the bottom of the deck so that I don't have to struggle with the whole 6-card hand limit. And I have also added Pettins, with the idea being that when Pettin is set into the graveyard, I can then banish it to special summon another one, ideally from the deck, and continue to thin it out. As well as just, sit there and absorb attacks, just like what the traps are supposed to do. So if you don't have either of these monsters, don't worry. Look for anything with 1400 defense, that will work just fine. Likewise with the traps, if you don't have the Golden Apples or Widespread Ruin, Windstorm will work, Curse of Atakrio will work. Some of the trap cards that special summon monsters will work. So there are alternatives for the other cards, but Vassal, the spells, and at least one Mythical Beast are pretty much going to be your last turn farming combo for this deck. Oh, and good news, deck doesn't really require a skill, so you can basically stick it onto anybody that you want. Now, like I mentioned, Yubel's deck is a bit weird, and I will get into that in just a moment, but first let's go over the reward cards. So, in terms of the normals, they're typical normals, they're just not that great. There's a 1200 warrior, there's a 1600 warrior, and then their fusion card, which is not good either. But aside from those, Yubel actually has some interesting cards. So first up we have Vampiric Orcus, which is a 1700 plant, and when Vampiric Orcus is normal summoned successfully, you can special summon a Desdendal from your hand. Now Desdendal is specifically a union monster that equips onto Orcus. And basically, while it's equipped to Orcus, whenever Orcus destroys an opponent's monster in battle, Desdendal will special summon a token to the field after damage calculation. Or I guess after the monster is destroyed, basically. The nice thing about Desdendal, however, is that it does have 2,000 defense points, so if you do want to play a more defensive deck at some point, Desdendal is definitely something you can think to add, just to sit there and tank hits. Now in addition to those, Yubel can also drop Regenerating Rose, a 7-star 0-attack 1500 defense plant, and when this card is destroyed in battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 Regenerating Rose tokens. You can also get Samsara Lotus, a 1-star 0-attack and defense monster. During your end phase, if you control no spell or trap cards, you can special summon this card from your graveyard in face-up attack position. And this card's controller takes 1000 damage during each of their standby phases. Seems like a little bit of a weird card. I will get into why it might be useful in just a moment. The Ultra Rares, this one is actually ridiculously amazing. 0 attack and defense, but whenever Grave Squirmer is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to destroy any one card on the field. Monster, spell, or trap, it doesn't matter. So it's, think Maneater Bug or Snowman Eater, but better. Or was it Killer Snowman? The new one, the 1900 defense monster that went face up and destroys one monster on the field. So it's basically like those, but better, because it can also go after your opponent's spell and trap cards. And then you can actually get Yubel in card form, because Yubel is actually a monster. And here's where things start to get weird. Yubel is a very complicated card. 10 stars, no attack and defense. Yubel cannot be destroyed in battle, nor do you take any battle damage from battles that involve this card. Before damage calculation, when this face-up attack position card is attacked by an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. So, to summarize, so long as Yubel remains in attack position, they will consistently reflect back battle damage to your opponent whenever they get attacked. However, Yubel does have a little bit of a downside. During your end phase, you have to tribute one other monster or this card self-destructs. So this is where Samsara Lotus can kind of come in handy. Admittedly, you do have to have no spell and trap cards in your control to revive Samsara Lotus. But the main idea is that you revive Lotus, Yubel consumes it to stay on the field. Next turn, you revive Lotus, Yubel consumes it, and so on. Now, there are other forms of Yubel. We may well see them in this duel because they are in the level 40 deck. But basically, the final effect says that when this card is destroyed, except through its own effect, you can special summon one Yubel Terror Incarnate from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So, very obnoxious monster. Reflects battle damage, and when you destroy it through card effect, because you can't destroy it through battle, it summons a stronger version of itself to take its place. Yeah, not fun. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the duel. Now, like I mentioned, Yubel's deck does have the Ultimate Providence counter trap card, so you will want to watch out for that while you're dueling them. But otherwise, Yubel's deck is very weird. The strongest monster that they can summon without sacrificing is Mystic Tomato, which has 1400 attack points. However, I forgot I turned the voice on. Now the weird part about that is that for as low of an attack power as that is, Yubel will actually attack your set monsters with Mystic Tomato. So it's actually very easy for Yubel to take a small amount of recoil battle damage and ruin your chances of getting the whole only dealt effect damage reward at the end of the game. Which kind of circles back around to why I was pointing out 1400 defense points over and over and over again. Because that's the perfect level to where your monster doesn't get destroyed, but Yubel doesn't take recoil damage. So let's actually go ahead and get the Petons filtered out so that they don't reshuffle the deck and undo the work that the Crystal Seers do. Now, very important note, if you attack the Mystic Tomato and destroy it in battle, it can summon Yubel from the deck. Because that's exactly... it fits the conditions. Mystic Tomato special summons a dark monster with 1500 or less attack. Yubel is a dark monster with 1500 or less attack. So, if you're going to be battling Yubel, probably don't want to attack the tomatoes. Which is actually very hard to do, because I believe that if you have a monster with more attack points than the tomato, Yubel will actually crash the tomato into it in order to summon themselves. So, yeah, actually, straight up fighting them isn't as easy as it sounds. In addition to the tomatoes, as you just saw, Yubel does have the spell card Tribute to the Doomed. In fact, I believe they have 2 copies? They might have 3. I'm not sure. I think I've only ever seen them use 2. And I'm actually not going to set Crystal Seer, specifically because of, on top of all this other nonsense, Yubel also has a copy of Lava Golem in their deck. So if you have 2 monsters on the field, just try not to have 2 monsters on the field until, the end of the game. Because otherwise, there's a chance that Yubel can just tribute them, give you Lava Golem, and then you're taking 1000 effect damage every turn. And especially with this sort of deck, there's no way to get rid of Lava Golem once Yubel has summoned it. Good lord, they're going so fast I can't keep up with all the cards in this deck. I'm actually going to stop for a moment, take a drink while you watch the summoning animation. There you go. Now, this is a bit annoying, because this is another way Yubel's AI is pretty smart. They will find some way of sending themselves to the graveyard, use Limit Reverse to revive themselves, and then purposefully switch Yubel to defense position, which destroys them, to then special summon Yubel Terror Incarnate. So, pretty smart AI, all things considered. Crystal Seer activates. I will definitely take the golden apples. Now, Terror Incarnate shares many of the same effects that standard Yubel has. In just a moment I will show you. I'm going to go ahead and set this. So, Terror Incarnate shares the same whole battle damage reflection effect. However, you do not have to tribute a monster at the end of each of your turn in order to keep it in play. Instead, during your end phase, Terror Incarnate simply destroys every other monster on the field, with no way for you to control that. It destroys your other monsters, it destroys your opponent's monsters. Every single one of your end phases. So get used to that. And then, as if that wasn't enough, much like how if regular Yubel is destroyed by a card effect, it gets to summon Terror Incarnate, if Terror Incarnate is destroyed by a card effect, or just leaves the field in some fashion, you get to special summon the ultimate nightmare form of Yubel from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So again, the Yubel cards are very obnoxious because you try to attack them and they reflect battle damage. You destroy them and they special summon stronger versions of themselves. Now, That said, there are actually three good notes about this. The first is that Ultimate Nightmare does not special summon anything if it is destroyed through card effect. So, if you have enough monster destruction power in your spells and trap cards, you can burn through all the forms of Yubel. I'm going to go ahead and set a widespread ruin as well, just in case. So that's good news number one, is that if Yubel does get to Ultimate Nightmare, you can destroy that with a card effect and you won't have to worry. Second good point is that because all of the Yubel forms have 0 attack power, Yubel cannot actually attack you and deal damage with any of them. So, oftentimes Yubel will get into this kind of weird, almost like a soft-locked state, where if you can block the attack of a Mystic Tomato, I'm sorry, backing up. If Yubel gets to Terror Incarnate form, they can kind of get soft-locked in that if you stop the attack of Mystic Tomato, it gets destroyed by Terror Incarnate's effect, and that's one less monster for them to summon that can actually attack you. I'm going to go ahead and set Crystal Seer just to see if maybe I can get lucky and they set it off. I actually need to double check. Yeah. I am not going to activate Widespread Ruin because I do not want them to get to Ultimate Nightmare. Alright, that's baited out one of their Ultimate Providences. I believe they have 2. But, yeah, anyway, to backtrack, that is the second good point about Yubels, is that they really can't attack you themselves. They rely on you attacking them to deal damage to you. I'm going to go ahead and set a Cerberus because I know I've got 2 more in my deck somewhere. And then the third point is that the whole reflecting battle damage thing... Okay, holding that thought, I completely forgot that Yubel has the Dark Hole spell card, which just destroys all monsters on the field. So here comes Ultimate Nightmare, the strongest Yubel form. Great. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, the damage reflection effect only works if Yubel is in attack mode. If you have some means of putting Yubel in defense mode, granted you will need piercing damage to then punch through... Well, actually no, because their effect still blocks battle damage. So, attacking it in defense mode doesn't really do anything, but at least it won't be bouncing damage back at you. Yeah, all around Yubel is a pretty tricky card to deal with, especially when it gets to the Ultimate Nightmare stage. Still has the whole damage reflection effect, except, unlike the previous 2 forms where it has to be attacked in order to bounce damage back, Ultimate Nightmare can attack your monsters and bounce their attack back to you. So Ultimate Nightmare is going to be a lot more proactive in attacking than the previous 2 forms were. And in addition to reflecting attack damage, Ultimate Nightmare also destroys any monster that battles with it. So... yeah, keep that in mind for Ultimate Nightmare, and in fact, I'm probably going to try and use the Widespread Ruin I just set to get rid of it. Because I'm pretty sure Yubel still has a tomato. Okay. Well, the tomato's going to eat the Widespread Ruin then. But keeps me from taking damage. And I'm just going to double check really quick. Okay, yeah, I am still recording. That's good. Let's go ahead and set Hatred. Now, so long as I don't have any monsters, Yubel can't do anything still. And there's the last tomato. Great. Oh, this is going to stink. I'm gonna just go ahead and activate the golden apples just to get it out of my back row. but basically what's going to happen is Ultimate Nightmare is going to attack it, reflect its attack back to me, undo what the trap card just did, and then destroy the token. Yeah. So I really needed Widespread Ruin. I'm just going to double check really quick. Okay, yeah, so I still have one more Cerberus. Did I send a Widespread Ruin to the bottom of my deck? I think I sent a Widespread Ruin to the bottom of my deck. I have to set Cerberus. Oh, what am I doing? I should have summoned Cerberus and then attacked the tomato to get rid of it. Yep, because now I lose. Oh, dang it, I didn't think of that. Okay, but that's basically how the farming of this deck is supposed to go. I mean, aside from the losing. But basically the idea is at the last turn, you activate Photon Lead to special summon a Cerberus, normal summon Vassal, use the backup riders on Cerberus to supercharge it, use Secret Pass and Union Attack on Vassal, and then attack Yubel directly to deal the damage. So I'm not going to go through another duel because that took a little bit too long. And hopefully you guys got the idea behind the deck, even though I lost. But that was actually the first time that this deck lost. I've used it in a slightly different form against Yubel, and it won 5 out of 5 times. Now, granted, they ran out of Mystic Tomatoes pretty early on in the duel. I didn't have to worry about one towards the end. But, you know, there's always going to be edge cases, and regardless, that's how the deck I found is supposed to work. Feel free to browse the internet and find a deck that resonates more with you. And again, if you want to try and fight Yubel in a straight-up regular duel, again, just be very wary about attacking. That's all I can really say. Now, enough about that. Like I mentioned, Yubel is unlockable. And in fact, earlier when I happened to log on to just do some just kind of routine grinding, Yubel actually did unlock, which, if that does sound strange, it is kind of strange. Technically, the event started, well, by the time this video goes up, it will be 2 nights ago. But as of when I was recording this, the event started yesterday, but Yubel didn't become available to unlock until today. So I don't know why they made us wait a day to get them, but they did. Anyway, that was creepy. But yeah, once you progress far enough in the event, just like any other character unlock event, you get Yubel themselves, so let's go ahead and check them out. So for the starter deck, you have... let's see, what do you got? You have, as usual, an assortment of kind of crummy normal monsters, but you do get a copy of Yubel for free just by... Good lord, how many times can I say this person's name? You get a copy of the Yubel card by unlocking Yubel as a duelist. So, that is at least one ultra rare you don't have to worry about trying to get Yubel to drop. Now, let's go ahead and take a look through their level up rewards. As usual, it looks like there's gems and deck slots and stuff. At level 3, you get the Dark Energy Equip spell, which boosts a Fiend-type monster's attack and defense by 300. At level 4, you actually get Power of Dark, which is pretty cool. Up until now, I'm pretty sure that this was a skill exclusive to Yami Yugi. See, gems, deck slot. At level 7, we get this Memory Crusher Fiend, 1000 attack points. If this card successfully attacks directly, inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each card in their extra deck. Okay. Interesting little monster. I don't think it's going to be that great, but interesting. Level 10, you get a Vampiric Orcus. At level 11, you get Coffin Cellar. Continuous Trap. Each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard, inflict 300 damage to your opponent. Okay. Level 13, you get Allured by Darkness. Not super sure what that does, because unfortunately it doesn't actually give you skill descriptions until you've unlocked them. At 14, you get the Continuous Trap Dark Cure. When your opponent summons a monster, they gain life points equal to half the attack of one of the summoned monsters of your choice. So your opponent heals themselves every time they summon a monster. Well, I mean, that does combo with that one trap card, Bad Reaction to Samochi. That could probably be a fairly mean burn cycle, even though it will take 2 of your 3 spell and trap card zones, but basically, Bad Reaction to Samochi reverses any life point healing into life point damage for your opponent. So that could actually be a fairly strong deterrent to summoning monsters, because they'll take half of its attack power and damage. At level 16, you get another Coffin Seller. At level 18, we get Spell Chronicle. Continue spell card. Send all cards in your hand to the graveyard. Select and remove from play 5 spell or trap cards from your deck. Each time your opponent activates a spell card, place 1 Chronicle counter on this card. You can remove 2 Chronicle counters from this card to have your opponent select one of the cards removed from play with this card's effect and add it to your hand. When this card is removed from the field, you take 500 damage for each card that is still removed from play due to this card's effect. Very interesting effect, but considering how prevalent things like spell and trap destruction are in the metagame, I don't really see anybody using this thing. Especially because it's, I mean, say you've just freshly activated it, you banish 5 spell and trap cards, and then your opponent immediately destroys it, that's 2,500 effect damage. At level 20, you get Compensation, which I think is another new skill. Level 21, we get another copy of Memory Crusher. 23, you get another Dark Cure. 25, you get yet another Spell Chronicle. Level 30, you get My Name is Yubel, which, if I had to guess, is probably sort of like a specialized draw sense skill, specifically to find a Yubel card. 33, you get a 3rd Memory Crusher. I didn't think it would be that good of a card. 35, you get a Dark Cure. 38, you get Spell Chronicle. 40, you get a Dustendal. And then at 45, you actually get another copy of Yubel. So that's card drops or card level ups could be a little bit better in my opinion, but I can't be too mad about the fact that you get 1 copy of them just for unlocking them and then another copy when they hit level 45. Because honestly, anything to make farming these characters easier, I am very appreciative of, because I always get to the point where I need 1 more copy of one whatever card and they will not give it to me. So knowing that I only have to make them drop 1 card or 1 more copy of Yubel to have, you know, the magic number of 3, I'm okay with. Let's see. In addition to all of that, the EX card trader is back. You can trade 4 copies of pretty much all of Yubel's special drops, save Yubel themselves, as well as special cards like Intrigue Shield and Eternal Rest, which previously have really only been available through, I think, things like card flipper events and such. So if you happen to miss out on those, you can get copies of them through here. And then, as with similar character unlock events, hitting certain milestones against Yubel will get you some EX gems. And then, additionally, once you have unlocked Yubel, you get some sort of, you get basically little challenge goals that can get you a few extra gems. Every day by dueling 3 times in the PvP arena, you can get a total of 60 extra Shattered Hearts, which I think only comes out to 1 more duel against the level 40 Yubel. I'm actually going to double check that really quick. How many How many Shattered Hearts does it take to duel you at level 40? It takes 40. Okay. So, basically every 2 days, just by participating in the PvP arena for a little bit, you can get 3 free duels against Yubel, basically. So not too bad. I honestly really like this event. Yubel has been a long time coming. They've basically been teasing them ever since they added Yu-Gi-Oh! GX to the game. And like I mentioned, I like all the little details that they've added in, like the new music, the special background arena, or the special background to the arena as opposed to all the previous duelists that have just used the standard legendary duelist environment. So I really like this event, and not much more I can say about that. So okay, hold on for just a quick second. The episode is not quite over just yet. This bit of the episode, in fact, is actually being recorded the following morning compared to what you all just watched. Probably explains why my voice sounds a little bit different, because I literally just woke up like 30 minutes ago. But I realized 2 things. First off, we actually can go ahead and look at the special skills that Yubel can get by leveling up, because it completely slipped my mind that in a recent update, Konami added an actual skill list system to the game. So basically this works a little bit like the card catalog, except it's exclusively used to filter through the skills and see who has them, who can possibly unlock them, and by extension who can't get them. So let's go ahead, open up the filter really quick, target Yubel, and we can see all of the skills that Yubel can get. Just because some of these are lit up does not actually mean that Yubel currently has them. As you can see here, this right back at you skill, which was previously exclusive to Yami Merrick, Yubel can get, but they have to get it as a drop from either a legendary duelist or in the PvP duel. So, let's see, there were compensations. So this is actually a skill that Yami Bakura also has. I completely forgot because I just don't play him that much. But basically, every time your life points decrease by 1,000, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard and recover 300 life points. So, not too bad of a skill. I know there are some cards that do like being sent to the graveyard, so you might be able to get that worked in. We can also see that Yubel can get things like Restart and Draw Pass and other various draw senses from PvP duels. But here we go. So, first skill that Yubel can get as a drop is also something that Yami Bakura can get. Fiend Farewell can be used when one of your monsters is destroyed in battle. One random Fiend-type monster from your deck is sent to the graveyard. This can probably work out very, very well with a Yubel deck, provided that the Yubel cards are the only Fiends in your deck. So, if you plan to use this for a deck like that, and then use cards like Limit Reverse, for example, to revive Yubel and then get the whole chain going, similar to how the Yubel AI does it, just remember that the fewer Fiends in your deck, the more likely it is to send an actual Yubel into the graveyard. And we also have Allured by Darkness. This is the one that Yubel gets at level 13, and every time your life points decrease by 1,800, instead of conducting your normal draw, you can add 1 copy of Allure of Darkness from outside of your deck to your hand. And Allure of Darkness is a spell card that lets you draw 2 cards, then banish a dark monster from your hand, or, if you don't have any dark monsters, you send your entire hand to the graveyard. So, get another good card that works well for the Yubel cards, because obviously if you have a copy of Yubel in your hand, you can banish it, and then use traps like Return from the Dark Dimension, I think it's called, or no, Escape from the Dark Dimension, that's it. You can use that to then resummon Yubel, and again, get the whole chain going. Then we have Love is Pain, which is a special skill that Yubel can only get and only through dual drops. If you receive damage from your opponent's card effect when your life points are 2,000 or below, your opponent will receive the same amount of damage. So this basically adds on an effect damage reflection, but only when your life points are very low. So don't expect this to win the duel for you unless your opponent is already at a lower amount of life points, because otherwise you'll run out of points first. And then finally, we have My Name is Yubel, which looks like I was actually a little bit wrong. This isn't a draw sense. It actually looks like you can just use the skill whenever, and Basically, it's used by returning one Terror Incarnate or Ultimate Nightmare form of Yubel from your hand back to your deck, and then you get to draw the base Yubel. So, probably a good skill, since Terror Incarnate and Ultimate Nightmare would be dead draws otherwise. The skill sort of recycles them a little bit and lets you, basically makes it so that whenever you draw any Yubel card, you can make sure that it is the starting form, so you can get the whole ball rolling again. Please excuse my otter-sounding voice and occasional mispronunciation. Like I mentioned, I still just woke up. But in addition to those skills, I also completely forgot to look at the event rewards. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll scroll right back up to the top. As usual for these character unlock events with the point system, there are things like gems, rare jewels, these new item crystals, so EXP boosters and stuff like that. The first important reward, I believe you actually, it's not listed here, but it's at the 200,000 mark, because I believe that is the amount of points you actually need to get for Yubel to unlock. I'm actually going to go ahead and look at the event details. Yeah, so to unlock Yubel, you have to complete Challenge 3 basically after September 14th. And Challenge 3 specifically is, it's just unlocked by completing Challenge 2 and collecting 80 or more Shattered Hearts, which I think is just, Challenge 3 just makes Yubel spawn in-world, and then when you beat them in a duel, that's when they start showing up at the gate. So, okay, so points actually don't matter for unlocking Yubel. If getting them as a character is all you are interested in, you really don't have to play the event at all to get them. Or much at all, I should say. You do have to play it a teeny bit, obviously. But anyway, so at the usual 200,000, which would, in previous events, have gotten you the unlockable duelist, you get a copy of Vampiric Orcus. At, let's see, gems, you do get 40 more Shattered Hearts at 550,000. At 600,000, you get a copy of Samsara Lotus. At 1 million, you get the card sleeves, which, pretty cool looking card sleeves. You get more gems, more stuff. At 1.4 million, you get a copy of Descendel. At 1.8 million, you get the card mat, or the game mat, I should say. At 2.4 million, you will get a copy of Grave Squirmer, which, again, highly recommend trying to get as many copies of this card as possible, because it is just really good to just both absorb an attack by just setting it in defense mode, and then it destroys anything your opponent controls. And then actually at 3 million, you get another copy of Yubel. So, kind of surprisingly for these sorts of events, you don't ever have to get a copy of this particular card as a drop from beating the event duelist. Because you will get one copy when you unlock Yubel as a character, because it comes with the deck. You can get a second copy when Yubel hits level 45, and you can get a third copy if you get to 3 million. So basically, any Yubel card drops from duels are just sort of bonuses that you can convert into ultra rare jewels if you want. And then there's gems and jewels and stuff, and then at 3.6 million, like usual, you get the icon for the event, and after that point, the game will pretty much just give you, I think it's just gold on a regular basis. But, yeah, there we go. So, those are the two things that I realized I completely forgot to touch on last night when I was recording, so with that, I will just go ahead and let the actual episode take over once again, even though I'm willing to bet that all that's probably left is just the outro and ending and all of that stuff. So, yeah, thanks for letting me interrupt really quick. Have a great day. Best of luck with farming Yubel for yourselves. So, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a great time, and I hope you all have a great day. Because I will see you all next time.